Finally.
Yeah, now we get to the weird one. Boy, this game just kind of came and went, didn't it? There wasn't too much hype surrounding it prior to release, as quite a bit of time had passed from the second game, but even after release, the discourse surrounding this game was dry as hell. It's like no one knew what to think. It's not that this game was bad or anything, it's just that no one expected or even wanted the series to return as a damn Souls-like. And this was 2018 when the genre was like the hot new thing, and it seemed like a lot of random AA studios were trying to ride the trend. Not saying that's what Gunfire was trying to do here, but the timing and abrupt switch up does look suspicious. Trend hopping or not though, at the end of the day what matters to me is if a game is fun or interesting, and honestly, Darksiders 3 was both a good time and pretty unique in hindsight. I think we were too harsh, y'all. Not saying that this game is a masterpiece or anything, but I had more fun than I expected coming back to this. There are some serious flaws that hold this back from greatness that I'll get into. For now, what the hell is going on with this horseman?
Music to my ears.
Feel the burn of living
He does enjoy dismembering angels.
We all need a hobby. I hope you left something for me. I'll try not to enjoy this too much.
Fighter troll witch.
Oh, that is unfortunate.
So just like Darksiders 2, Darksiders 3 is yet another side story that takes place concurrently with Darksiders 1, particularly around that same time when War was doing time. With Death off doing what he was doing in the second game and Strife not properly being introduced, our perspective shifts to the horseman Fury, the only female horseman who has no chill whatsoever. You see, unlike her brothers, Fury doesn't give a fuck about the balance and fights out of both rage and boredom. One day, while being bored chilling with her horse Rampage, the Shard Council calls her in for an important mission. That mission is to capture the 7 deadly sins who have escaped imprisonment and are running rampant upon Earth. Just like War in the first game, the Shard Council assigns Fury a watcher in case she acts out of line. And for the rest of the game, Fury travels around a destroyed Earth hunting down the 7 deadly sins while slowly seeing the value in humanity and realizing that being an angry racist isn't all that it's cracked up to be.
Enjoy your collection, Avarice. For one final time!
Do you know what that art is worth?
One sinner's life.
So this is exactly how I expected a Darksiders game in the 8th generation to look. A little bit more detail on the character models and environments, but nothing too crazy. Wouldn't be surprised if a good chunk of the work was put into Fury's hair, because just look at that thing. We're back on the destroyed Earth full time again, which means that we have a really drab vibe throughout. Even more drab than in Darksiders 1, as it feels like half of this game takes place underground. You know what's weird though? This game supposedly takes place during that period when the Destroyer's forces are taking over, but the apocalyptic Earth here is way tamer than what was seen in Darksiders 1. Earth there has demons spawning from everywhere with big ass hellspires and shit. Honestly, it looked indistinguishable from actual hell. Here, Earth is quiet and barren as hell, like the battle happened a while ago. Could be that this is just another city, but still. There's not even any music in this game until boss fights, which adds to the feeling of desolation. So many locales in this game give off long-lost civilization vibes, which fits as a big part of the narrative is Fury learning some cool shit about humans after the fact from the Watcher, who operates as this sort of tour guide.
For all of their achievements, humans were outmatched in the apocalypse. Their civilization is now mere fodder for demons.
They truly were a pathetic species. But there are shades of intelligence in their monuments.
Have the humans grown on you, mistress?
Hardly. I pity their hubris. They believed they could control this world's destiny.
Still, these towers are impressively ambitious, as if they were reaching upwards, looking for purpose in the heavens. What irony they were consumed by hell.
Indeed.
Feel like a broken record at this point, but yeah, the voice acting is still really strong and grabs your attention even when what's actually happening and being said isn't all too interesting. Cissy Jones in particular kills it as Fury. She gives her that right amount of rasp, smugness, and anger bubbling underneath every line.
The armies of both heaven and hell have cordoned off the world of man into various areas of influence. Look around us. The upheaval we have seen is the very personification of the struggle between order and chaos. You have set for yourself an unenviable task, given these environs.
That's what makes it fun. The other sins are hiding across this shattered world. They strike at angels and demons alike in their own selfish bids for power. Their hubris will lead me right to them.
Perhaps, but you will need assistance.
Whatever I need, I will take, Watcher.
Games shouldn't get no pats on the back for releasing in unbuggy states, but considering how bugged out Darksiders 2 was, I'm glad I didn't run into any issues here. At least on PlayStation 5, this game ran well for me. Wish it ran higher than 30 frames though. Weird how Darksiders 1 Remastered is the only one on console that got that boost. Don't know what's up with the PC ports though.
That seems important.
A little ostentatious, if you ask me.
For once, we agree.
So yeah, we got another switch up in gameplay from 2 to 3 here. No more fast-paced hack and slash combat where you're racking up combos with crazy abilities. No more color-coded gear to loot for, and no more long-ass dungeons with extended puzzle solving. Nah, Darksiders 3 goes in pretty hard on the Souls-like elements. More cautious combat where enemies can kill you in 3 hits, bonfire checkpoints, lost souls if you die twice in a row, and a set amount of rechargeable healing. Thing is, this game doesn't fully commit to being a Souls-like and does have some of that DNA from the previous games. The combat is still pretty hack and slashy. Attacks are still fast and instant, there's still a little bit of combos, and you're generally always on the offensive. You have this dodge that works with avoiding most attacks, and you quickly realize that the name of the game is to just spam attacks and then dodge at the right time. Fundamentally not all that different from Darksiders 2, but the feel is way different. Narratively, I don't know where Fury stands in her power level, but man, in gameplay, she definitely feels like the weakest horseman. The whip attacks, along with dodging and counterattacking, all generally look, feel, and sound cool, but man, even after leveling up 40 times and upgrading weapons, I never felt like I was doing enough damage in this game. I guess it balances itself out with how many opportunities you get to land hits. The ramped up difficulty with smaller group fights and harder hitting enemies does make winning these fights feel more rewarding. However, being able to win every fight by just dodge timing correctly does get a little bit stale. I know they were going for something different, but the general moment-to-moment action just isn't as exhilarating as what was found in Darksiders 2. It goes back to the combat being stuck between being a Souls-like and an early 2010s hack and slash. It doesn't fully commit to what makes both engaging. You're too weak and don't have enough powers to really go apeshit wiping out rooms, but you're also too capable to feel like an underdog and play things cautiously like a Souls game. At its worst, the combat feels like a neutered Darksiders and Dark Souls with way less freedom, which is where I think a lot of people get turned off. However, I personally still fuck with the combat, and that's because at its best, it's a unique fusion of both styles that has this game not feeling like much else. Was definitely enjoying my time slicing and dicing in this one more than the first game, and that's because of how fragile Fury is. Each fight commands your attention, reading enemy attacks lest you want to get mollywopped in a couple of hits, and I like the added tension. And though I wish there was a bit more switch up in how you take down enemies, getting a bunch of these slow-mo dodges in a row and laying on the pressure does feel badass all throughout. Been giving this game a bunch of shit in comparison to things I preferred in the second game, but if there's one thing I prefer here, is that we've gone back to more linear levels, which I think works better for this series. Way less padding here. Out of the 3 games, this is definitely the tightest experience. 10 hours long, all meat, no fat. You get to these sins quick, yo. Doesn't mean that there aren't any distinct levels to explore. Even though we're back to hallways and compact rooms, the world is still interconnected, and let me tell you, it is no less confusing as hell to navigate. Instead of a map, you have this indicator that shows you the direction of the nearest sin. It more or less just tells you the general direction, which doesn't tell you shit. You can't get to certain areas until you have the necessary hollow powers to reach them. You know, shit like fire to clear webs, force to break through things. Even though there's no more dungeons, there's still a decent amount of puzzles scattered about to solve, and just like the last games, it's all about utilizing your powers on objects to open the way forward. However, it's pretty clear that the puzzles aren't as much of a focus this time around because they ain't all that elaborate this time. Many are just straight up messy in their implementation. On the first point, your powers just aren't that interesting this time around. One of your big hollow pickups is Thunder, where the most notable thing about it is Jesus gliding, an ability you got before the first dungeon in Darksiders 1. And the others are also pretty straightforward in their implementation. Nothing all that unique like being able to duplicate yourself or going through time traveling portals. But the main issue I have with them is that they're just straight up aggravating to do. Shit like getting these blocks across this hallway with a tornado that can somehow kill you just by lifting you up. Or these blocks where you have to stasis the grinder so that you can use them as a platform across. I swear, they never fall in the way you want them to. It's just mad annoying now that when you die to them, you're sent all the way back to the serpent hole rather than in front of the puzzle. One of the things that I don't like about the new Souls-like mechanics. As far as the bosses, they're better than the first, but not as good as the second. The second game was already getting away from puzzle-based fights. This one is like, what even are puzzles? There's nothing to figure out here. Every boss is brought down by the good old whip and skip. Again, very similar to a lot of Souls-like, where it's about dodge rolling at the right time and finding pockets to attack. There's more active fighting with the boss fights, which I do prefer, but a lot of these fights do kind of bleed into one another. The same tactic of just dodging highly telegraphed attacks is applied to every boss, and something different here and there would have been welcome, at least for me. Doesn't mean that they're exact clones or anything. There is an attempt at some deviation with greed jumping around the place or gluttony turning into this kraken. It just isn't anything that original. The fucking lust fight is practically a poor man's Ornstein and Smo, as if the influences weren't blatant enough. The last fight was definitely the best, with Envy utilizing all of the previous boss's moves. This is where reading and reacting to moves felt the best, as Envy has just way more moves to read and react to that all feel pretty different. Whoever designed the second Wrath fight though needs to be spanked with the cactus. Bosses that out-heal most of your attacks are already aggravating. A boss that does that while running away most of the fight? Just painful.
What is it?
Something about this place.
Ah, you wish to repent for your sins?
I will not waver to cleave the Watcher head from your Watcher body.
Less sarcasm. Noted, mistress.
Honestly, out of the 3 games, this one might have the best narrative, and the reason is because out of the 3 horsemen shown, Fury goes through the strongest character development. She's pretty damn unlikable in the start. Arrogant, quick-tempered, thinks they're above it all. It isn't until she loses her only companion in her horse Rampage that she starts to introspect and get outside of herself. What does it mean to be a horseman if you don't got a horse? What is she even fighting for if it ain't for the balance? These are questions that Fury slowly comes to answer. These 7 sins obviously being reflections of her own flaws that she's trying to overcome. Not all the sins apply though. I can't think of any point in the game where she exhibited greed or gluttony, but everything else definitely applies. By the end, Fury learns that there's more to being a horseman than just whooping ass and actually finds value in preserving the balance. It's storytelling 101 shit where the protagonist learns to embrace responsibilities thrusted upon them. It's predictable, but hey, it works. I also think it's cool that they've done a reverse in the dynamic between the Watcher and Horseman here. In Darksiders 1, the Watcher was a total scumbag, getting off putting down war, and his stoic personality just took it in stride. Here, the Watcher is a total glazer, gassing up Fury any chance he gets, with Fury being the antagonistic one here. The Jones rants were pretty damn corny though. I know that humanity is close to extinction in this game, but I feel like Fury's change of heart would be stronger if there were actual interactions with the few humans left at the Haven. You know, maybe have them act cautiously around Fury, but slowly treat her like a hero, while Fury is super racist to them at first, but softens up over time. Yet another game though, where it's a setup for something more epic later. We still got one horseman left to explore, but after that, I want to see the whole team together going against some shit, man. There's been too much build up now. Not sure if we'll ever see it, as Gunfire seems to be making more bank with the Remnant games, but it's not like the demand isn't there.
Of course. Finally, everything makes some sort of divine sense.
It does?
Mistress, is this not everything you wanted? Finally come to you.
Set aside the past, sister. Today, we live in service to you.
I will be done.
This is not real!
What?
Oh, it was worth a shot.
So yeah, that's Darksiders 3. Should have titled this video why Darksiders 3 is better than 1 but not 2, but that probably would have been too wordy of a title for YouTube. It is how I feel though. I honestly like this game more than the first game and think it's pretty underrated. Maybe it's because I already like Souls-likes, but I thought the switch up to this style was done mostly well. I wouldn't want them to make a sequel in this style. Seeing as every game is pretty different, they might as well continue that trend by switching things up again for Darksiders 4 if that ever comes to light. I feel like I'm the only one with this opinion, but I feel like this series is interesting because it doesn't stick to one style of action. We've gotten something fresh with every entry. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. If you like this video, do the usual stuff to boost it in the algorithm, and I'll see y'all next time.